Gonna roll the intro.
Hello, brothers and sisters, and welcome to another Temple 420 Sabbath. I'm here with Brother CraigX here. It's a beautiful, cold Saturday Sabbath here, where I'm at in Kansas City. So it's doing good though. How are you doing?
Me personally, you're not going to roll the opening, or are you going to add that in later?
They took out my opening, so I have to fix my openings since I downgraded with it. I wasn't getting much out of the full one. So
who took out your opening?
SteamYard, because they want you to pay more for being able to play videos before it that you have there and stuff like that.
No, how much is it?
I think it's $40 a month or something.
Okay, I'll get the account soon, and because I want to start doing more live stuff online. Yeah. And I feel like I haven't done a Saturday morning session. What, like 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah, it's been a little bit. My mornings have been pretty busy, and I know you've been pretty busy.
Oh, have you not been doing some at the moment?
I've been doing the middle week ones, and then I tried to get some Saturday things in here and there. But,
okay. Well, I'm glad we're doing it today. If anyone who follows us, and I don't know how many people do, I'm sure that we should have a better format. Like, today we're going to discuss chapter 7 of the book of Mark, chapter 4, verse 20 of the book of Mark. For a man soweth a seed in good soil, and sometimes it returns a yield of 30, 60, or 100-fold. But we are that unorganized that we don't know what we're going to talk about. So we play it by ear. We were just discussing Joe Rogan and his relevance to the culture that we're in right now. He used to have the #1 podcast in the world. Now it's Candace Owens. Have you been following Candace Owens' investigation of Charlie Kirk?
I haven't too much. I followed it for a while, but then I didn't see her ever bring up anything. So I kind of stopped paying attention to it. And I watched Luke, and Luke always complains about it, but then doesn't really show me more what she's doing there.
Luke who? Luke Radowski?
Yeah.
Oh, I think he's such a dick.
Is he?
I don't know.
I ran into him at one point, but
it was just I just have a negative experience with him because of the whole Tim Pool thing. So maybe I'm sure I'm biased because I was a big fan of his before that. I used to listen to him and enjoy his podcast and liked how it was raw and he wasn't overproduced. But now I just feel like, oh God.
Well, and I love that he was starting the stuff and doing it after 9/11 was the big thing.
Yeah, no, that's obviously what introduced me to him as well. Yeah,
he was the guy that stood up and asked Silverstein at that meeting too about that insurance and putting that stuff in, and then they kicked him out of the press. So he's always been great to stand in and do that.
Well, yes, and I have to respect him for all that 9/11 work because he helped wake me up to that reality, I guess. I don't want to even call it that conspiracy. The reality that 9/11 was, if not an inside job, it was definitely not 2 planes that brought down the buildings. That's for sure. So, which is interesting because I think that's kind of what the Candace Owens situation is about too, is that the media, the people who really control the population with beer and bad information and porn and sports, and get you not to think about who really runs everything and owns everything. That elite crowd wants you to believe one thing when the reality is something else.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I could conclude about that.
Yeah, and I don't even want to call them an elite crowd, but more get this in there, more the crowd that controls the narrative. That's
And that's what I
probably
kind of see with that whole thing. It doesn't seem like it's logical to me in the way that it put together. So I was trying to figure out somebody that knew what would make sense of this story. But it seems like they're totally just like every other story, which doesn't
what
make any sense. Like the Thomas Crooks story is the same way, and the 9/11 stuff and all of this. They're like, hey, we're going to scoot away what the actual story is and then start interjecting in other stories and other information. So it almost sounds like a misinformation. Hey,
right.
distracted
It
by all this other stuff.
it makes you question everything and appreciate the truth. And Jesus said he was the truth. And
The
that's
only
what
truth that we can figure out. Yeah.
for sure. I am the truth, the life, and the way. So, but the truth, and I think that that's what we all have to be in pursuit of is the truth, whether it's what happens to us here on earth or after we die or what is the nature of reality. I think that's why people tune into Temple 420 if they do. What are our average numbers of views per video? Like 10 or 15 people, or do we get any more?
I would have to look. I haven't been following it for a little bit.
Right. And it's
Go.
not like I feel like I care. If anyone really watches, I would love if they would comment just to let us know sometimes that, hey, you do care, because we haven't done the program in a while here Saturday mornings. And not that we're expecting feedback. Hopefully, if we reach one or two people, that I really appreciate that with the word and encourage them to read the Bible or something. But mostly what we do is almost have like a coffee smoke session, um, where we talk. And usually I don't even show myself, I show my surroundings. I don't think this is my best camera, but I'm just hanging out on my buddy's balcony
No.
in Santa Monica. Yeah, you see the palm trees in the distance? That's the next block over. And then here he's got his surfboard up there, his bicycle. These California people who live by the beach, they like to ride that bike path and surf those waves. So,
And
anyways, thanks for joining us. That's all I wanted to say.
the thing that always gets me too is Dad
Hmm.
always helped encourage me too that the word never returns void. So hopefully, even putting it out here and putting the word out there and putting the good vibes and encouraging things are hopefully good. We get comments, one or two, three or four sometimes, and I hear with the stats that's got to be thousands of people watching it. So I'm
Oh,
sure,
really?
yeah, they say you'll get
Okay.
like one comment out of 1,000. So like, yeah,
That's
that's pretty good. Then I'm sure there's people that come through and like, hey, those are two silly stoners, because sometimes I get those ones too. Like you watch that much to conclude that much, I guess. So
right. Well, and I don't mind people thinking we're just silly stoners. I feel like I'm just glad we're here. I enjoy some other people's podcasts, and I want people to get something out of ours. So we were talking 9/11 reality conspiracy, um, Luke Radowski, how I kind of dislike him now, even though I appreciate what he stands for and what he's accomplished in the past.
I totally get that on Tim. Tim's just like an armchair commentary. You came into somebody's basement and disrupted him in his mom's basement. I haven't seen Tim out there do anything. So
Dude,
he just
Tim,
sits there and reports from his armchair.
well, here's what I noticed when he did his Candace Owens rant and he called her a cunt. I hate to even use that word on here, but he always pulls his shirt. Like when he was talking about me and lying about me, he pulls on his shirt like he knows he's lying. He feels guilty. And it's like some kind of poker tell that he does that. I think if people start to watch him, he's lying anytime he's touching his shirt like that. Um, was one thing I noticed about observing him only because of what my experience was with him. But yeah, Tim Pool uh, is the bottom barrel scraper, and he's going out. What's so funny is he always talked about how rich he was and how awesome he was, and just bragged up on himself all the time. And I knew when he did that to me what a horrible person he was, how he would go down, and burn his bridges and just be pushed into the ground, and what a puppet he would become. And clearly, he's someone's puppet and hasn't been watching Candace Owens, because the one thing she is an investigator, and she's very slow with her investigation, and she goes piece by piece and puts together timelines and asks questions, and then gets answers from the public, and then does her own research. And she's pretty thorough of doing a good job of investigating clearly that it wasn't this kid Tyler Robinson with the 30-06 and the miracle bullet who shot Charlie from the roof.
In one
And
shot. That's one of the things that gets me.
well, not even if it was one shot, it's just like the fact that his head was still on his neck, on his body after a 30-06 blew through his neck would be the miracle right there.
That's
I mean,
entirely improbable.
right. It's just, it's impossible. It's not just improbable, it's impossible.
I've
So
had some people like Barry Cooper says that he's used 30-06 and seen it do some weird things. So I can kind of consider it, and a couple other people, but all the demonstrations I've seen, yeah, from no way from those demonstrations.
how weird? How weird could it go? Where it just goes in the neck and doesn't come out the other side?
Yeah, Barry Cooper says he's seen that happen. I
All
don't know.
right.
It's weird to me. And I'm like, well, I guess it's plausible that way, but this is also a weird kid and a whole weird situation. So was it
Right.
really him that took that shot? There's a whole bunch of too many questions on that.
Barry,
You've got
Barry,
cameras there of him taking the shot, even though they don't show us. Where's
I,
that
I always wonder about Barry Cooper, because he was a former cop and set up all these people and then came out to help people. He reached out to me at some point and said he was going to send me some stuff, and he never did.
at?
And then I reached out to him once or twice, and I kind of apologized because when he first reached out to me, I was like, bro, I don't care who you are, you're just a sellout because you used to fucking go after people, now you're trying to help people. This was back in the 90s. Then in Mexico, we both live in Mexico, so I tried reaching out to him. I was going to go and visit him sometime, but it was like 10 hours out of my way on my way driving down to the Yucatan, so I just decided not to do that. And I just wonder about him. He seems like a pretty normal guy. And I had some friends that went into the CIA, were LAPD, and then became lawyers. And they had their own um, vibe about them that kind of reminds me of this Barry Cooper thing. Like, is he a deep, deep agent, or is he just a
I
normal dude? Because he seems pretty cool.
I follow him, and he doesn't like the Candace stuff. He doesn't think she presents anything either. So he's also been another one I've been watching complain about it. So I'm like, if they say something and there's anything really legitimate, he'll be saying something about it. And he was helping several people, and he said if I backed him as helping people, he would back me if I ever needed it for cannabis law. So he's on my back pocket to help me out if there's ever any stuff with that. He said that.
Well, and he's a nice, like I said, he's a very nice guy, and he comes across very sympathetic and very nice.
He
Like
just
he's
got a brand new movie about him, came back to America, and has a brand new movie about him out there.
right.
And
But
he seemed to risk his whole life and all of that to do to never get busted. So I give him pretty good credit with that.
okay, all right. Like, which all it does is make me wonder: is he coming back? Is he doing the movie? Like, because I kind of want to do that stuff. At some point, are you selling out because, hey, I want to be rich again and have a nice lifestyle and live in America and be semi-famous and get chicks? Or are you doing it because there's the motivation to get the truth out? Or is there the motivation to spread God's word? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what's his.
he went to the Philippines, and I think he got saved at some point in there because he talks about being Christian and that, and met a lady over there and hangs out with her a lot over here when he came
Well,
back over here later earlier.
well, God bless him.
He seems
And
to be pretty good and aligned and stuff.
all right, well, that's nothing but good
Bless
news
that.
for me. That's nothing but good news for me because I always have been on the fence about him. He's like so cool and likable, like some of my friends, like I said, who became cops, lawyers, ended up working for the CIA, and at the same time, he seems like a fucking deep state guy still.
Well,
Uh,
after even that stuff too, I loved how he risked his family and got his family messed up, but he did cop busters and was doing things to set up dirty cops and get them in trouble so that he could get them off the forces, which
Oh yeah, he was
They
trying
ended
to.
up coming him after that. Like he did a grow house that was made
I
with
that
Christmas
was
trees, but then
right,
got illegal information in there that it was a weed house. So when they
right.
busted it, it was totally illegal and not surveyed out and done all that stuff.
It
I
correct,
commend
and
him
it
on
just
that.
showed their poor tactics that they would, uh, yes, that they were corrupt cops,
So he
and
totally reversed and went
well, because he
busted
knew what
out.
to do as a cop. So, well, that's good. But you wonder sometimes, is that the kind of cover you give to a CIA agent so that he can infiltrate the other side and still be a CIA agent, still be loyal to his bros back at the agency, and yet totally fit in and be the normal guy on the other side? I mean, that's the kind of fucked up world we live in,
Yeah,
where we live so far away from people in our tribe and in our family and in our community that you never know who to trust. That's almost like the fucked up thing about the modern society that we live in right now.
that's one of the
Is
ones too. I think about Alex Jones, but I can't really tell. I think
oh,
sometimes he's a disinformation agent, and like he's giving so much information to cap it off and not let it get too far because they've got more advanced and doing crazier things than he even puts up.
bro, him and I both started in public access TV back in the 90s. And now it makes me wonder if I don't think he was back then. I think he was really sincere and that guy who just, couldn't handle a normal job, wanted to be like a radio personality, a host. I totally get that. I kind of wanted to do that at that age too. And so we were doing the same thing back in the 90s. And I used to watch his videos. His show would come on right before or right after mine on public access in LA because he sent his tapes out across the country where we just figured out we're in LA. We got one of the biggest markets in the world. We just went to the different LA stations. Um, and we were popular, like so popular, like I'd go out to dinner and stuff, people would be like, oh yo, public access guy or whatever. So because we were doing the weed shows on public access back in the 90s. So I always thought he was totally sincere, but recently I've come to agree with you that he is also a disinformation campaign, well, like controlled opposition, I think it's called.
And his father's always been, he's even said it too, been so close to like CIA and stuff like that. So, of course, if they know him that close, they're at least going to be like, hey, tell your son to stop freaking out about that stuff. Or can we talk to your son or stuff? So at least
R-
he addresses and sees them
right.
on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, and good for him. He stayed alive in this game and he's made a lot of money, but he definitely told some truth because they fucked him on that Sandy Hook thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
because I don't believe that was real at all. I've seen the films and the documentaries about that. It was just like Waco. It was one more fake. Just they lied to us. If you see it on the news or on television, it's most likely a lie. That's my basic starting point.
And they hated too because they revealed the Pizzagate stuff. And I've seen the information around that. And it seems too legitimate to be false. And that's why they had somebody even go into Comet Ping Pong and shoot it with a shotgun, is because it looks totally real. If you look at all the stuff on 4chan, look at the pictures that the guy who ran it had on Instagram and all this stuff, it's totally some sick mind or something. Maybe it wasn't children in the basement. Maybe it was just some sick mind with sick
James
pictures.
James Elefantes or whatever his name is.
Yeah, the guy that run it had like pictures of kids taped to tables and weird paintings and
No, no,
weird, really creepy stuff.
very creepy stuff. I don't even think that was the creepiest stuff. I just think that was the stuff that they could let out on the internet.
Yeah,
That
and
was
this the stuff
creepy
that was
enough.
scary because it was on
Yeah.
like his own personal Instagram and stuff, which is the craziest.
Here's the and it was funny. The guy who shot up Comet Pizza shot up the hard drive. Like he got right in there. He's like, "Oh, where should I shoot if I'm going to shoot up this restaurant? Oh, I'm going to happen to shoot right into the hard drive of their computer where all the information is stored, so it can never be recovered, supposedly." Uh, yeah, you wonder, and how does a person go ahead and do that? Are they MK Ultra'd out? Oh, I shouldn't even say that on our podcast, otherwise we could get uh I call my cat that Mouse Killer Ultra because one of my cats, Asher, is really good at catching mice. Yeah, here's the thing. You want us to believe the world is run by psychopathic pedophiles who don't care one bit about the population and would lie to us 24/7 so that everything most of the population believes is 100% complete lie, whether it's the moon landing, the flat earth, the 9/11, the Waco, the Sandy Hook, you know, and there's just one conspiracy after another, which turns out to be true. Um, and it makes you wonder, okay, what kind of simulation are we living in that these psychopathic pedophiles can be running the country? Oh, and I hopefully won't get a censor. That may be why we don't get very many views too.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, oh, there's things that'll turn people off when they watch that.
Yeah, because we talk a lot of everyone else talks about like uh the young people, small people playing in traffic on the freeway. They try and code all their
Right.
speech to some pro-Soviet agenda so they don't get demonetized or pushed around on YouTube. But it's difficult for me to play that game. Um, so that's why I keep getting demonetized and kicked off and getting strikes and
Maybe you got
warnings.
off TikTok or YouTube
Yeah,
a lot. That's why I try to also throw it up on Rumble and Spotify and TikTok and all
right. Well,
that.
that's good because I don't mean to be that guy, but my kids call me the patriarchy. They're just like, you're just an old man. You just think those things. And maybe that's true. Maybe like my views are just old fashioned these days, but I feel like we're in pursuit of truth, hopefully.
Well, then that's what the weirdest thing is with me with it too, though. Where's all the truth and what Trump's supposed to be kicking out and that he's not? Like, I don't understand. I don't seen anything with 9/11. It was kind of closed on JFK. They're like, there's nothing to show here. There's nothing to show on Epstein. There's nothing to show on chemtrails. It's all nothing, nothing.
Okay. Well, let's get back to the Bible then. Okay, so this could now get us demonetized as anti-Semites or anti-Jewish something.
People need to look into that stuff to figure out if that's a story.
Well, no, I think that one of the things is that there can be, and this is what Tucker Carlson was saying at the Amfest that probably got Charlie Kirk killed. He goes, there can be two things happening at once. There can be a country like Israel, which is an ally and a friend, and they can be reverse spying on you. Hopefully, we're reverse spying on them as well, just like we do all of our other allies and enemies. Um, and that they could be doing evil things, a country, uh, and yet still be somewhat good people in there, or not everyone's involved with what the government is doing. And maybe that's cover. Maybe I'm being full of shit there just to give them cover. Like, oh, the people aren't. Because when the Palestinian children wear these little bombs and vests and say, oh, I want to grow up to be a terrorist, a martyr, and kill a bunch of Jews. Uh, is it the same thing if the Jews are saying and committing, hey, I'm going to grow up and be in the IDF and, we're going to defend people and protect people. And then I don't know if these videos are true, but, some of
Right.
these videos of Palestine or of Gaza are just incredible devastation where it looks like, if you're searching for a tunnel, they'll be like, it's a good excuse to be like, oh, maybe there's a tunnel there. Oh, maybe there's a tunnel there, and just blow the whole fucking place to
I think
smithereens.
there is, though. That's what some of the wild stuff is too, and it would be good if. Too bad our friend from Israel isn't in to tell us more insight on it because I get
Oh, Jay
inf-
Brown. Yeah, we
yeah,
would love to have him come on
information
again.
from like the
Um,
Jewish temple I attend, and it seems a little bit of a different view too with all that stuff. So I don't really know what the reality is, and with that, and I would agree with how you put that. That's something important. I think we need to talk with that on that too, because the nation isn't necessarily the whole Jews either with that. They had bad rulers in the past, and there's the
mhm.
spiritual Israel and the physical Israel. And the physical Israel hasn't always done good. They've had bad kings, they've had bad rulers. So I
A-
don't really think it's anything different
Ahab and
from that.
Jezebel. Yeah.
Yeah. Even as you go through it, some of the things that David and Solomon and the people between weren't always the best. I know
Well, yeah, yeah. David killed
those
one of his own guys and stole his wife.
kings were doing crazy things, and the rulers were like, "Whoa, what are you doing? You're doing the things that God told you not to do." He
Mm-hmm.
gave them short terms and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sorry for making you look up my nose there for a minute.
And there's a difference between, I think, the spiritual people that follow God and it's Israel than the physical one. Almost like the Americans and that stuff. We don't support everything the military does and Trump does,
Right.
all that.
Right.
American
Well,
people.
right, right. And it's a good excuse to keep taking over the world because half the country is against it. Oh, well, half of them, like some of those Americans are good, some of those Americans are bad. And it all depends what's popular because being weak isn't popular either. Did someone else join us?
No, it was alert on my phone.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe someone from Israel joined us. Are you streaming this live? We're going to post it later.
It's recorded to be posted later, actually.
Oh, okay, cool. So nobody's going to be joining us. Yeah, well, being Jewish and having a lot of friends in Israel, and yet Jay and I discussed when October 7th happened. We both said, "Is it possible there was a stand down, 12 hours of slaughter, before there was a real solid reprisal or defense?" And it was the same with 9/11. There's people want to have a war, they'll let shit happen. Sure, it's the enemy that did it, but did you just
Yeah,
keep
that's one of the biggest ones of 9/11 that got me when they walked up and told George W. Bush Jr. that, and he sat back down. I'm like, how serious did he take that? And it was just like, oh, okay. I was like,
was that the first plane or the second plane? I forget what was going on at that
the
exact moment.
first plane hit, and he came in and told him that, and the security agent whispered it in his lips, and he kind of gives him that, okay, this is cool, and
Mm-hmm.
like sat down, and it looked too content and like okay with the situation, like kind of gave
And
me the
have
presence
you
of like
have
he
you
knows
ever
what's
seen have
going
you ever
on, but
seen what the
shut up,
kids
chill.
were doing? The ritual the kids were doing during the 9/11 stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay, the kids were like weirdly in front of George Bush saying these words, like they were doing a story about a goat, and then the words that they selected to learn, and they go building, and then the class goes building, and then it goes airplane, airplane, crash. You're just like, what the fuck were these? Like, this was like pre-selected words for the kids to be reading out prior to anything happening. And it was some kind of like strange 9/11. They were like going crash, 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 building, 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 blah, blah. And you're like, holy fuck, this shit was planned by these motherfuckers, even down to the kids saying this stuff in front of George Bush Jr.
So weird. I don't.
Yeah.
That's the one that really woke me up to the stuff because the physics and nothing of that make any sense. And then they're all like, "Yep, it's good. Just leave it
Yeah.
alone." That's what happened.
Yeah. That's what happened.
How
So,
the
yeah.
passport got out in front of the building and it was not destroyed, but everything else in the planes were destroyed except for that guy's passport. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
There just was a lot of craziness. That's for sure. One of the first things my friend said to me was he sent me a picture. Where's the Boeing? From like almost day one on. And this was and I'm kind of conservative Republican, and he's a very liberal Democrat. And so he sent me, where's the Boeing? Like there was some conspiracy from day one. And Alex Jones, also, who I had been listening to in the 90s, and then in the early 2000s, he came out on day one and said, "Oh, this is bullshit. This is a conspiracy. This was done, blah, blah, blah." And so he knew ahead of time, and he had predicted bin Laden would be blamed in July of that year, and it didn't happen until September. So clearly, he had someone on the inside who was feeding him information. He claims he just figured it out all by himself, but that was part of the setup to make him a credible guy for disinformation from the beginning. But it did bring me back to him when I think it was like 2005, when because I had watched the moon landing as a kid. I was very young, but I do remember more my parents' reaction than the actual television, because I've seen the fake landing so many times now. But I believed it until about 2005, and that's when I all of a sudden realized, oh, Alex Jones was right about 9/11. It was fake, and even my crazy Democratic liberal friend was right, because he's like, where is the Boeing? And then I started to look. Oh yeah, that's right. There is no fucking plane that just disappeared into that building the day after they announced $2 trillion were missing. Did I
Three
swear? Did I
three of the
swear?
four planes were never found, which makes no sense to me at all.
Right. Yeah, the whole thing was a scam. It could have been CGI. They could have just blown it and had no planes. The only footage we have of the planes going in there is a couple of a French team of reporters, and who just happened to be on the street in the right place in the right
I've seen
time.
cell phone footage of that, but I've also seen the pilots say that they've been way experienced and there's no way you could make a Boeing go into that. But I've also seen the science that shows they could have been laser guided. But like, where'd they ever
Now,
go?
why could a Boeing not go into the plane? Because the plane itself has,
It would be hard to go from that height down to
right?
that low and then not have dizziness and trouble, and then even be able to hit the towers with one yet two planes like that, even at an experience level.
Okay, cool. Because I
So
hadn't
like
heard
it's
that part
totally
yet. But I
blown
already,
out of the water. Like they're like, you couldn't hit those even like as a jet pilot or a someone who's flying those for years and years and years. Those pilots even came out. That's what one of the big things was crazy to me. Like they're
right.
like, there's no way you could fly that, especially if it was just your first week after being taught that. Come down from that altitude, come down, even be able to regain any sense and then hit the building.
Amazing. Amazing.
Like the whole story doesn't make any sense in physics at all. Like this is just crazy.
Okay.
It makes
Good.
more sense to me, like they said they had radio controlled planes than
Right.
if they guided it down and everybody could have lost consciousness in the plane and then
It's
targeted and hit the
it,
building with a laser. Like that was total technology they had then. So
it
it's
yeah,
crazy.
it's still bullshit. I think it was bombs. And I think it was Israel too. Those
Well, to take it
those
down for sure, because there's
right.
no way, even if it was built to withstand those, like every single thing with it. The building was built to withstand planes being hitting it, and then it
Mhm.
can't, and all of a sudden collapses like it's a piece of paper. Like
Yeah.
they did something totally rigged up with that, and the stories that they repainted it and put this new paint all inside of it before, like the whole story sounds crazy. And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing else. We released the pages that said Saudi Arabia helped fund it, and that's all of it. Like this doesn't make any sense still.
Um yes, it doesn't make any sense. It was intentional. They wanted a huge war. Billions and billions and trillions of dollars were made from those wars in the Middle East, and that was the plan. Um, and whether it it was Israel or America or an Israeli American connection doing it, it destabilized the Middle East. I think it made things better for Israel. Um, Certainly, what they wanted, they thought that they would have more influence maybe in those regions, and maybe they do now. And they didn't have to spend all their blood and treasure the way America did. So,
We still
um,
do. We pay for a lot of that stuff over there, which is crazy.
believe me, that's why I think what people is pissing Americans off, and this is what's going to make part of the Bible come true, is that um,
I
not. Go ahead. You go ahead.
I heard when you say that too, it makes me reminds me that Jack Hibbs was saying when I was watching his video last night that part of this group of people coming together on Trump's side that's going to make peace plans is rolling into some of the Revelation stuff that's going to go there, and they're going to make the peace over there and roll that plan together. That he's putting together that coalition of himself, saying that him and Putin and several others are going to make a coalition that's similar to NATO, but over for our Western side.
Um, Well, it's replacing the United Nations because the United Nations was supposed to be making peace around the world. And Trump has been actually doing it. And it's interesting that he's creating this peace coalition. Who knows if it's going to be used for evil? I think either way, we're heading towards that, a one world government, a one world money. And it doesn't matter if it was Trump doing it or if it was someone else. But what the Bible says is that the whole world will turn against Israel. And I think Israel has shown some kind of arrogance or some kind of, and like I said, I think America's funding it. Did we fund the destruction of Gaza? And I don't want to say genocide because it has its negative connotations. But Charlie Kirk said, oh, it looks like they're trying to ethnically cleanse Gaza, which means you may not be trying to kill 2.5 million people that live there, but you might be encouraging them to move off the land so you can reoccupy or retake the land. And it seems as if not only is that a long term goal of Israel, but it may also be a strategy of this particular war effort. And you can say, oh, well, America did the same thing to Native Americans, and countries do have expansionist ideas. Um, and I think there is a greater Israel project. These people want to fulfill the biblically promised land, which is the Levant. It's huge in the Bible. He promises to Abram's descendants. Now the question is that include Ishmael's and Esau's descendants? Does it include uh, Gentiles and Christians who believe in God? Or I guess those Gentile Christians would be Christians. Does
Both
it?
those come in with that because Gaza was full of Gentile Christians, which I always tried to bring up to a lot of my church people with that when they're supporting the blowing up of things. A lot of those are Palestinian Christians and Christians they didn't want living in Israel itself and all of
Or
that too. So it's a bumper
right.
mix of people
Well,
in there.
I try to be. I'm recently aware of the incredible destruction of Gaza. I think I was more pro Israel and more pro uh, Israeli war efforts at the beginning because I really thought it was limited and targeted and taking out the leadership of Hamas. But it does look like they want to take over the land more than anything else now. And now it makes me question, and not that I didn't question from day one, but the whole October 7th narrative, was it allowed to happen so they could have the excuse for the war? And maybe had they had their war quicker, the public, because I think I saw a recent CNN poll, not that I believe anything on the news or polls, but every once in a while there's something that catches your eye that you say, oh, this is maybe somewhat true. There was a poll that said 48% of the people uh, above zero um, supported the Israelis defending themselves and going after the terrorists in Gaza who attacked them on October 7th. Now, 2 years, 2.5 years later, whatever, it's down to 1% of the people above flatline or above even. And so these, how they always manipulate polls. It was a very weird poll, but they said it went from 48% supported Israel to now only 1% support Israel.
I could see it definitely go down because I feel the same way on the side that they should back themselves and go after the people who did that kind of stuff. But it is also on the other side. Israel is one of the most high tech countries, and
Countries.
they know where things are going at all
Mm-hmm.
times, almost like America. They know when things are going. So why didn't they respond for that 14 hours or what crazy amount to that and let it go on for a while? That part in itself even seems
Right.
crazy. Like there was no response like after that started. Like there's more than letting it happen too. So I don't know. And then the whole they wanted to wipe it out, and then Trump and his friends want to rebuild it and do that. I'm like that. That's where I think it may come into the peace, and then we may have an antichrist break that peace to stop
Um,
this in Revelation soon.
like I think we're heading towards the biblical conclusions, no matter what, no matter who's in charge. And one of the things the Bible says is that the whole world will turn against Israel. So if they don't wake up as a country and recognize that their bad PR is really spreading quickly, then they're going to have the whole world hating them soon. And it'll be difficult for an American president like Trump to be supportive of them. Someone will say, oh, maybe we have a crusades again and the Christians take over the Holy Land because the Jews aren't managing it well. But we don't really have Christian nations anymore. We've have these godless nations, which is interesting because they're trying to rebuild Christianity as like this Christian Zionist movement. It's very pro-Israel, pro-Jew.
And just
Um,
if you fit in the good. Unfortunately, all I've seen of Trump is he says that he's good in a Christian because he doesn't do anything bad, which I don't
well,
like as Christians that we let go on. But
right. Well, I'm grateful that they got rid of abortion on demand everywhere and put it back in the state's hands. Grateful we've seen fewer marijuana um, convictions, kind of, but it's still being people are being prosecuted for it. We've
yeah,
only
kind of.
really
They're
we've
flipping
only
it.
really turned it over to the big corporations. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Said kind of, yeah. They're starting to flip it back here and trying to retake all the hemp stuff and stop the hemp stores and the gas station stores selling kratom and all that stuff here really hard.
Well, they want to control every medicine, everything you put into your body, and basically the food. I mean, I go into 7-Eleven, Circle K, OXO. It doesn't matter what the store is. Most of the food is poisonous in there. And then I look around uh, the supermarket and it's not much different. You really have to be selective. And so let's say you do pick out fruits and vegetables and try and get the best meat and stay away from the processed food. Even then, they're poisoning that as well. Over hormones into the meat products, extra salt or Clorox almost on the meat to kill bacteria, and then the vegetables are covered with more herbicides and pesticides that slowly poison you as well.
Crazy.
So yeah, it is. It is. It
It
is,
gets me too because I would think you could solve it even with the label stuff. Like if you have somebody who has labeled packages like your
bro.
Fritos or whatever thing like that, we have the technology to test that kind of stuff. If it's testing out nasty and it's doing has crazy stuff and there's brands that are testing out good, like even your kratom and your THC, if there's companies that are testing good stuff and it's getting there and say, hey, this is Bob's stuff, it's going to get renowned names and recognizability and backing behind it in the trash. If you're testing it and it's the trash names, throw those trash names out. Don't let them work. That's the way you work the quality and make it a free market, at least in my mind.
Okay, I just thought of Atlantis right now. Um, I kind of feel as if this society, the dollar dominance is coming to an end. And that's one of the reasons I created Yo Mama to help people. And it's YOOMAMA.com, just for people watching, to help people make a lot of money this year. So if they want to buy some land, move out to some more rural place where they can grow their own food, by next year they can have those resources, because I really see things coming to a head with silver prices exploding, like quadrupling in the last 3 years.
Oh, yeah, did
I
you see
think,
what that's at recently?
well, the coins I used to buy for $25, then went to 36,
Yeah,
then went to 50. They're now $110 for silver
yeah,
eagles on JM Bullion, which is where I usually get them, and they don't pay me. I'm not getting paid for that advertisement. You can buy them anywhere, but that's where I usually buy mine. And boom, the price has skyrocketed, and I don't think it's slowing down. I think we're going to lose the dollar soon. And that's what's going to create this global upheaval that will require it's an induced problem that will require an induced solution, and that induced solution will be the fulfillment of the new world order. Whether it's Trump, Kamala, I just don't think it matters. We're going to, and not that I do like Trump better than Kamala, but we're going towards the new world order, um, globalism, and some kind of fascist pharmacracy, where they're trying to
Technocracy,
tell.
it sounds like.
What's that?
The technocracy, it sounds like. Because
Yeah,
even
but they want to drug people. They want to drug people for some reason. They want you vaccinated with these fake vaccines that aren't even vaccines. They want to kill people. There's really, I think there's a depopulationist agenda, and that AI and robots. And I don't mean to like whine and cry like, oh, we're all being taken over.
what was
But
the guy that talked with the WHO, that Noah Yusuf, or I can't think what his name is. He's super
no,
anti-Bible.
Noah Harari.
Yeah, Noah Harari. He said that he doesn't know that anybody's going to be able to do anything but drugs and TV entertainment, so that he thinks we'll need to get rid of more people and all
It
that. And
could
I said
it
several things to that. Like, this
it
is crazy.
it could be Noel Harari, something like that. But I think he was Klaus Schwab's boyfriend, as well as being a doomsday predictor. And not only doomsday predictor, he's an evangelist
He's an
for.
antichrist.
He's an antichrist. He's an evangelist for the end times. Yeah, he definitely is. He's anti-human, is what he is. He wants to see humans and computers combined and create a new type of species.
I think we could do all right with using it to our ability, but we're of course going to mess it up and do crazy things. So
We're already pretty fucking combined. Oh, I used to keep swearing. I don't mean to. We're already very combined with the machine, you know.
oh yeah, absolutely.
That's why I said if someone's watching this, they can go like, "Oh yeah, I like podcasts. It's something interesting. Oh, these guys, hopefully they'll dig on our conversation." And just like I like listening to podcasts for other people's conversations and stuff. Hey, and if you're listening and you want to know more about the Bible and Jesus and God and the Old and New Testament, feel free to send a message and we'll add you into our um, WhatsApp messaging system so that you can be aware of when we're going to meet for these sessions.
Yeah, because those guys could pop in at any time if they wanted to. But most of them, I haven't seen them in chat for a little bit.
Who, any of the guys on our thing?
Yeah, kind of our minion in there. We've got our 10 to 13 people in there.
Yeah, they do look at the comments though occasionally, because we don't post a bunch of crap. That's the thing. If you join our group, we're not overloading. Look at, we're too big of stoners to be selling you crap. We just get together, we send you a notice, and you can join us. Furries at Mar-a-Lago, Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon's. I just got a notice. He's like, I like Tim Dillon. Do you know that comedian?
Been a while since I've seen what he's been saying.
He's funny. He's got a good take on it. I'm kind of more swaying to his side. His take is that America is going down. The whole world is going down. It's like the end of the Roman Empire, but you have to just enjoy what you can and get what you can out of it before it all collapses.
What is your take on the millennial reign, though? Is that coming, and that's something that Christ will run here for 1,000 years, and we could be here for another 1,000 years? I think that's also a possibility in there with that. And we've got 11 minutes left in this one here. Probably wrap it up in an hour.
Okay, no problem. I've been like dying to have a puff here real quick. I don't like to smoke on camera.
Yeah.
So, I think the Bible's true. I don't understand it all, obviously, but we're learning more and more about it. So, I think that I would love that possibility to have 1,000 years here with Christ. I I heard a very interesting take on a podcast yesterday about the Garden of Eden being a temple, and that they actually walked with God at the time. And so I'm imagining Jesus and Adam and Eve hanging out together in this temple. And then suddenly they're kicked out of the temple and it's guarded by cherubim. And cherubim are always there to protect and guard. They're there on the mercy seat. They're there on the curtain that protected the Holy of Holies at Solomon's temple. They were there in Moses's tabernacle that they had in the desert, and that the whole purpose of the history of the Bible was to let God walk with you and come back into your life and to tabernacle with him or to be with him. And one of the elements of the whole temple was always to be with God or to have a place where God dwelt among his people. And then when Jesus finally came and the veil between the Holy of Holies was torn upon his death, that he was no longer there with the people. It was interesting because he said his body was the temple in that case, and then his body came back to life 3 days later, so that he said then he indwells within us when we put our faith in him, and that we're supposed to be like him. Um, and it's just interesting because that way, if our body is the temple, then he's always with us
Right.
again. And so I don't know, does he come back to earth physically again and be with us for 1,000 years? How cool would that be? But
That's kind of my breakdown with it. But
you're what?
that's kind of my breakdown and understanding with it, but I'm not real good at getting it together and figuring it out. Because to me, it sounds like everybody's against Israel, and he ends up coming, splitting the mount, and taking Israel over for 1,000 years. And it sounds like there's even still people trying to do bad over across the world, and we'll begin going to Israel every year for the feasts with Christ.
Yeah, no, that does sound uh, like a fun time, and I hope that comes to pass. Uh, I just don't understand all the prophecies sometimes, but I think we're going to learn as the end times. We're going to start to understand them more and more. So that's a good understanding. I've been working with this radical forgiveness recently, um, and just trying to be super, super forgiving of both myself and other people. And I heard someone say that, oh, try to forgive yourself, even for past shit, because you know how we all have stuff
Mm-hmm.
that
So,
we think about, like, oh, I regret that, or I regret this from years ago. That if we practice some like radical forgiveness, even for ourselves for years ago, just be like, hey, whatever, you did what you did, I forgive it, because Jesus would.
yes,
And so I got into that mindset for the last week, and thinking of anything that comes up, I'm like, all right, I forgive myself. All right, I forgive myself. And then it makes it easier to forgive other people. And it's given me a new uh, kind of communion or like vibe. Like I'm feeling like Jesus being so forgiving. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely. I definitely understand that one, and I think that's a good really thing with it, because really, as it goes with it, we're supposed to forgive and hand it over to God, even ourselves. If we're handing ourselves over, Christ has paid for it and it's taken care of it. So God's got it paid for by Christ, and he's going to take care of the payment for these other people who have wronged us. So if we forgive it and forget it, even ourselves and everybody around us, he's going to take care of it. If that person continues to do crazy things and does it, he's going to be sorting it out. He's going to be taking care of it. He says
Right.
he's got a book of our tears, all the tears that we shed. He's got it collected and he's got it memorized and is going to follow up on it. So I think why we call him Abba and Adonai, he's the father. He's like going to do those father take care of the duties too, and go after everybody who's caused those things and judge those things and sort it
For,
all out. So
well, and that's
hand it
what
over to
Isaiah
him to do it.
says.
Forgive it.
Vengeance is mine, says the Lord.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I
Anyway.
try to hand it over to him, let him sort it out, because he'll know best and he'll do better than me or you can. We could try all
Right.
we want, and God's got it taken care of. He's got their life on hold, and
Yeah.
got all the control of that. So
Listen, I know we're gonna end it in 5 minutes anyways, but
yeah,
I want to finish this puff, and then I'm staying at my buddy, and I promised to walk his dogs this morning, so I'm gonna go walk the dogs. But
sounds.
I'm very grateful to catch up with you and have this nice conversation that we can share with the public too. So, if you stuck around this long, please comment and just let us know what you liked or didn't like about the show so we can make it better. Is that fair? Is that a nice thing to ask?
Yeah, I think so. I always try to throw down in the comments if anybody's got any comments they want in, they want all that, and put that in there. I've got a few other things. We're working with Steve's church where you can sign up for information, witnessing information to go to you, or for food, and then even yo mama stuff. I'd be glad to throw that in there. I think that's something handy that people look up. Temple420.org, all of our information there with that. So,
Perfect. Really appreciate it.
and can pray them out here.
All right, go ahead. I'll let you close it out.
Dear Almighty Yahweh, thank you for the blessings you give us and helping us through your word and helping it enrich our lives. Help enrich those people who have visited us today and make them be more interested in seeking you out. Help them follow your paths and help them understand who those people are around us and that they're all part of your creation and how we should treat people. Bless us through the week and all those who are here. Amen.
Amen. And I saw you put up the Bible. What verse did you put up, or what were you pulling up?
I actually just pulled it up to Revelation because I was going through Proverbs this week and was going to see what you had with that. And we started talking about Revelation. So I was going to see if there was anything helpful on those to pull up there.
Just at the very end where it talks about a plant for the healing of all nations. I wonder how that's similar to the Garden of Eden and how that's being in communion with God, and having God live inside your temple and in your heart. Because if we're made in God's image and his body was his temple, was the temple, then I think we have a temple within our body too that we need to respect and take care of.
And Christ wants us to be one with him like that too, like he is. We're the imperfect version of that. But
Right.
like human, and praise that. And I tell people on that too, and they're like, that's kind of a different way. But no, he's like, he says, as he is with God, that he wants us to be. So we should be seeking off of that and go with God's spirit and keep it within us in the same way. But it's hard for us to do here.
Amen. All right. Well, thanks for praying us out of there. Thank you guys for watching. If anyone's out there, I always get so curious. Like, who are those 5 people
Right.
checking us out? Well, I hope you break it into some good clips because I know the clips drive more people over to the long form.
They do. I'm trying to get some better ways with that. They added 2 of those on here, but then they use my credits on that too.
Do you still have...
Why are you always so calm? Because I stopped doing dumb stuff. Overpaying. Overworking. Listening to people who don't know my bills. So what, you cracked the code? No, I just picked one thing and did it differently. Which thing? Where my money comes from. From... Yo mama. Yo, is that a person? No.